back, we back. That's right. Double lives today. This is a martial art channel, so we gotta talk martial arts. We got a big one today. We got a good one. We got a juicy one. Was Bruce Lee a great martial artist or a great fighter? Talk to me. I'm gonna let some people come in the building. Come on up in here. Boy, we talking. We talking Bruce Lee. We talking Mr. Bruce Lee. I gotta get some more coffee. My coffee intake is low over here. Coffee low. I'm gonna give it another minute or so, and we jumping in. We gonna jump right on in. Double live. Oh, I'm dropping ashes and stuff. It's not cool. It's your boy LB in the building. Okay, we jumping on in this. Let's chew it up, cause Michael J. White at one time he had made a statement about if he fought Bruce Lee, he would probably win because of his size. A lot of people went crazy on Michael J. White, and you can understand why. You know, Bruce Lee, to a lot of martial artists, he is the top, he is the pinnacle. But was he a great fighter? And how do we know? Because I tend to agree with Michael J. White. Size matters. Size matters in the fight, you know. Skill is definitely a good thing to have. But let's say you're skilled and you're matching up against someone of your skill set. That's when size matters. Just like a lion. When a lion is young, before he get that thick mane, if he run up on one of them lions with the full, dark, thick mane, he's going to get chewed alive. Size matters. The same thing with a bear. As big as bears get, that real big bear, he calling all of the shots. So if Bruce fought Michael Jaleel White, chances are he would probably lose. Now, is there a chance he could win? Yes, definitely. But because of the size difference, he will run into a problem. So was Bruce Lee a great fighter or a great martial artist? I tend to believe he was a great martial artist, because to be a great fighter, you're going to need a fight record. You're going to need a record of your accomplishments. And as much as we hear about Bruce having street fights, you know, out there in Hong Kong, Redwood Reaver, Lee was a brilliant mind. Yes, I tend to agree. And towards martial arts, not saying he didn't have principles and understanding on fighting, but he didn't have a fight record, so we can't judge him on that area. But understanding the inner workings of martial arts, which is an art, you know, in itself, all of the fighting arts, he was the top pinnacle. He understood mixed martial arts before mixed martial arts was mixed martial arts. He understood one style ain't going to get you to heaven, baby. Ken J, salute. Exactly. Being a scholar doesn't make you a great fighter. So Bruce Lee would have probably got mopped up by someone like the Style Bender, GSP, Anderson Silva. These are great fighters, and they sometimes are overlooked because they don't embody the martial arts side as many. Benny the Jet, Chuck Norris was a fighter. You know, we give Chuck his props, but we gotta really give his Chuck his props because there's video of Chuck in there. Yes, Muhammad Ali would beat him easily, easily. And this is not to take away, put no shade on Bruce. It's just time to cut down to the matter of what's the difference, because you know there's a lot of martial artists walking around claiming they're fighters, and without a fight record, you know it's going to be hard. Now, can you still spar? Like you can be a martial artist who spars, and that can make you a great fighter within understanding fighting. Bruce Lee, lame Larry Moore. Bruce Lee was a self-defense fighter. Yeah, I would have to see more to call that, you know. And but his understanding of fight mechanics and the principles of fighting and the philosophies are deep because he was a true martial artist. At his sense, he is the king martial artist, but not king fighter. Because fighting takes a whole different thing. Fighting is the execution of all of these theories and principles and philosophies that you have. Those people execute them under duress, pressure, stress. You know, break your hand, you got to use your other hand. It's like Mayweather fighting Mike Tyson. Like Mike Tyson is one of those people that happens to walk the line of a great martial artist and great fighter. He said, RK said Mike couldn't back Michael Jackson good facts. You know, Mike Tyson really needs that honor because he is the embodiment of a great martial artist slash great fighter. There are very few who can hit it right in the middle. You know, be the martial artist and the fighter. The Gracies are another clan of great fighters slash great martial artists. Mars Mathematics, what's up? You know, we give Bruce a lot of credit. We give Bruce a lot of credit, but sometimes the credit goes too far. Yeah, Ken J, facts. You have to pressure test your art. That's what makes you a fighter, is to put the pressure on it, because then it's still just the art. And this is kind of what happened with Kung Fu. This is why Kung Fu always gets a bad rap, because they embody more of the martial arts side than more of the fight side. And this is big. You got to know how to be able to take a punch. That's the fight side. You know, like, could we imagine Jet Li jumping in the UFC? Could Jet Li jump in the UFC and do all of those and do drunk style in the UFC? I've seen that in one of my tournaments. I seen a guy try to use drunk style of fighting. It didn't go too well for him. It did not go too well for him. You know, you're throwing yourself to the ground. That doesn't work. Like imagine if you was on concrete and you threw yourself to the ground and hit your head, knocked yourself out. And that's because that art is not battle tested enough to say it could be used under duress. Or if it is, we're not seeing the people doing it. And this is where being the martial artist and the fighter can be kind of confusing. You can be thinking because you're doing this martial art, you're ready to whoop ass, and you're not. Because as they say, to get ass, you got to give ass. And if you ain't willing to take that pain and punishment you willing to dish out, then you are not on the fighting side, buddy. Because that's what the fighters do. The fighters are prepared for pain. They have a sick love of pain, of that type of pain. And a lot of martial artists don't have that. He said Jet Li's never been in the fight, more into the side of the martial arts. Yes. See, Jet Li up front with it. Hit that like button, 9 people in the building. Let's get these likes up. We up in here talking. Yeah, Jet Li understand the facts. Just like, I'm pretty sure, just like Jackie Chan. They understand them facts. See, a fighter works on milliseconds. Things are happening in that gap so fast, you got to almost feel it. Sometimes you don't even see it. That is a different type of mechanic there. And we overlook it because it's not as pretty as the martial arts itself. You know, 52 by itself looks very pretty. Under pressure, not the same. Not the same. Not the same. You shouldn't be seeing a whole 52 block display in the fight. And if you is, you ain't looking at a real fight. Because when this balls to the walls, it ain't no time for that. It has to be precise, and it has to be situational, and it has to fit what it's doing. Cage, salute, salute, love back at you. That's right, that's right. We up in here. You know, it has to fit the situation. So yes, Michael Jaleel White would probably mop Bruce Lee up because of his size. Now, somebody Bruce's size, totally different. Totally different. Somebody in that buck 30, I think what was Bruce, buck 15, buck 30, somewhere in that weight class, he tear you up. He tear you up. But you can't get into thinking that your skill can help you jump the bounds of nature. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be jumping the bounds of nature. Things are big for a reason. The rhinoceros is the rhinoceros for a reason. Salute. All right, get back to work. Come back. We here. You know. But martial art is a great thing. The study. We need more of the philosophers. So if that's your thing, that's your thing. Just understand where you fall at. Don't go crossing into the fighting side and get yourself all mopped up. Just like what that guy in China is doing to all of the masters. See, they messed around and brought the art into the fight and got mopped up. It didn't even look pretty. He was just throwing blows, raining blows on them until they gave up. That was it. We didn't get a chance to see none of the beautiful techniques because they're two sides of a coin. And if you're going to study the fight side, then you have to put yourself in there where you prepared to get hit. You got to take them shots, even in 52. There's nothing that can save you from taking no pressure if you in there trying to give pressure. Because the minute you go to strike a man, it's the same time that man can strike you down. So when you start talking offense, you talking the talk of offering your head to get ahead. But when you're talking the art, you're just talking about the aesthetics, the how the art is perceived, the understanding of the art. And like I said, we need those people too. We need the philosophers, we need the fighters. It all comes together. Yeah, you have to get mopped up. Ken J, listen, in the fight game, you got to get mopped up. There's no victory to victory in the fight game. You taking shots to learn how to give them. He's MG is here. He said, "Is it correct to say there's fighting martial arts and self-defense? There overlap, but in the fighting in the ring is different than fighting in the streets with no rules." Yeah, yeah. There are subtle. There are definitely subtle differences from fighting in the streets and fighting in the ring. Are there fighting arts? We hear that a lot, that this art was made for fighting. Only if the principles, if it's a principle art, meaning like 52 blocks is an art of defense. That's a fighting art because it's teaching you how not to be hit. Kicking arts are teaching you to kick, punch, or arts that teach you the choke. Those are arts that are teaching a specific thing that can be used in real time, or in the sports setting. Because in the sports setting, it's just controlled. In the street setting, there's no control to it, but it's still a fight. And that's why if you believe that you're training for a street setting, you can't favorite one art. You have to be able to kick, punch, wrestle, and defend yourself, and do some weapons. If you're thinking about fighting in the street element, you can't be one artist. You got these guys that, Wing Chun is just not good enough for a street fight. You need more. And Bruce Lee spoke about this, and this is what made Bruce so genius, was to understand during the time where one art was the thing. Like, you got your snake art, you got this art. He's like, nah, for a street situation that's uncontrolled, you're going to need more than one. You're going to need multiple arts. which became mixed martial arts. And mixed martial arts is the closest thing that we got to high level fighting. Period. It is the closest. Boxing is only just punching. MMA is the closest we have. So we can say those guys that fight in the MMA can kick ass for real. For real, for real. Like street settings. And you can call it a ring because they in the that none of that even matters. Now, of course there's a probability they could lose, but on the odds, those guys have a good chance because they have an understanding of kick, punch, choke. Elbows, knees, all that included. Those are people that can say, they have a high probability of winning in a real street situation. Boxers can say it too, but not as high because you only dependent on one weapon, which is just your fist. And the guy you fighting could be a wrestler. He pick you up, drop you on your head. But if you're a mixed martial artist, you run into a wrestler, your wrestling game good. You run into a kicker, your kick game good. You run into a puncher, your punch game good. So those guys are way more ready for a real-time situation, as Bruce spoke of. Now, Bruce could have sparred a lot and probably could have been ready for a real life situation too. We hear about all the street fights, but to say you're a fighter, you need a record of excellence to say it, to show us that you are true to who you are. Mayweather is a fighter. Those guys are fighters. And like I said, Tyson is probably one of the biggest embodiments of martial arts / fighter, because he's a student. He go all the way back to John L. Sullivan in boxing. He studied the art of war. So he's done the philosophy side, and then he jumped in the ring and knocked people out of their socks while he ain't even have no socks on. He knocked you right out your socks. Exactly, Ken J. Exactly. You can't really be a well-rounded fighter if you're locked into one gear. If you're locked into one style or one way of fighting. You must be ready for all levels. And that's hard. That's why training for real life situations is hard. You need a lot of time. You need a lot of money. You need a lot of good teachers. It's not an easy thing. GL, aka Facts Brother Burley plus. Yes, they're very comfortable on the ground. Very comfortable. Like even Conor McGregor versus Mayweather. Conor lost in the ring, but I bet if they fought in the locker room, Conor can beat Mayweather up. Because he coming with everything. The hammer fist, the kicks, the knees. He got different weapons of pain that he can inflict on you. Like, taking a Muay Thai leg kick, that's different. That's a whole different pain from getting punched in your face. Being dropped on your neck or slammed on your face, total different pain from being punched in the face. And if you ain't comfortable with those pains, when it happens to you, it's going to go through you. It's going to hit you hard. It's a comfortability with those pains. You got to be comfortable with getting choked out, get relaxed, and get yourself up out of there. Most people just can't do that. That's why the Gracies shocked the world when they started dragging everybody to the ground. And I was part of that time where I heard martial artists saying, I never go to the ground. My stand-up game's so good, I'll never go to the ground. Yeah, sure. Sure. The Gracies came and clawed everybody to the ground and choked them out and woke everybody up. That there's a fight happening on the floor too. The fight ain't just on your feet. There's a fight happening on the floor. Yeah, in the street fight, you can definitely be fighting someone bigger than you. See, but now this is where the law applies that if you are, salute, Herc Hootie, salute, if you are a trained individual facing a bigger guy that's untrained, the odds are now in your favor. See, the odds aren't in your favor when you're facing your peers. The odds aren't in your favor when you're facing your peers. a boxer facing a boxer, or another fight, a fighting art. But if you're a big guy with no skill and you come across a guy that's smaller than you that has skill, the odds are now in the favor of the smaller guy. And that's why you want to be the trained person. Now, if you happen to get into a fight with somebody that's training just as hard as you or harder, then yeah, then you can expect to probably lose. Cage, what's your opinion on going to the ground in the street situation? I wouldn't say it would be my favorite thing to do, but sometimes just the fight dictates that you have to. You know, you may want to resist going to the ground. Hey, if I can get rid of you before going to the ground, I'm totally in. But you, once again, since a real fight, has so many variables, you can't really say that you're not going to go to the ground. You just got to be prepared if you do. And if you do go to the ground, you want to try to do what you got to do and get back up. You're not going to stay down there as long as you can unless he's holding you down and try to go for arm bars. If you get an arm bar down there, you break his arm and get up. Redwood Reaver, cheating or fighting dirty. Well, when you in a real time fight, there's no such thing as fighting dirty. Yeah, you may want to avoid it, but as I said, sometimes it dictates. You throw a shot, somebody slips up under you, grabs you, slams you to the ground. You're gonna have to work from there. It's not fun, but that's why you want to have some ground information. You want to have some understanding of what happens to you when you're in that situation. Like I said, it's just mainly the understanding of what's going on down there that you need. You ain't going to need too many arm bars, and you shouldn't try to stay down there rolling around like you fighting on the clock, you know. But at the same time, you want to be prepared for that, you know. And like I said, it's no dirty fighting when you're real fighting. You just fighting, you know. Throw dirt in his eye, slam him on the ground, whatever you got to do to win. You know, it's only illegal when you're sport fighting. And the rules call for that you can't do certain things to win. Like you have to stick to this parameter to win. But and once you in real time, it's no parameters. You gotta do what you gotta do. And you can still use the skill that you have to win the fight. You throw a right hand, twist your foot, throw a right hand. You can have a stick in your hand, twist your foot, and make that swing way more powerful. You can still use the economy of motion in real time. You may not have to use your fist. You can use, you can have a rock in your hand and swing that rock like you throw in the right hand, and you'll see the damage you do. You can still use the economy of motion. But of course, the techniques are different because, punching in real time, if your hands ain't conditioned or you don't know how to punch correctly, you can easily break your hands in a real fight. But as I said, this is why you have to understand what you're training for. So you don't make this mistake of thinking just because you're doing your Bagua and Tai Chi, you ready to mix it up. No, you're not. No, you're not. Unless you mixing it up already. But yeah, hey, that's right. When you fight, you get. Hey, listen, like I said, cheating is all good and well in the game of war. If I'm fighting, I'm doing what I got to do to win, and at the level. I'm not going to kill you in the street fight unless I felt my life was threatened. I'm not going to go to the kill fatality, take his soul, unless you feel that's what's at stake. But if I can dispatch you and get out of there, or in any way I can, I am. When I'm throwing right hands in the street, forget your face. I'm aiming for throats. I'm aiming for softer areas. I don't need to punch you in your forehead. I'm not trying to prove I can lump you up. I'll go for that chin to put you down, but all of those superficial shots, nah, we don't want none of those. All of these punches go to different areas. Yes, very true. Very true, Mars mathematics facts. A street fight should end ASAP. Yeah, we all hope so. We all hope so. You know, always those guys that say, you know, the fight ended at 2.5. You can't call no fight. You will hope it end fast, but it is what it is. That's why you gotta have stamina. Bring your lunch with you. Be prepared to fight 10 hours or 10 minutes if you have to. Fighting is limited to a fight. Facts. And that's like I said, we need both. We need the martial artist and we need the fighter. They are both very important. Yep. Ben Askren, yes. The Gracie shocked the world. Get them likes up, press the like button as you come up in here. Get this video out. We talking about it. Was Bruce Lee a great fighter or a great martial artist? I say he was a great martial artist. I say the great fighters are the Benny the Jets, the Chuck Norrises, the Joe Lewises, the Mayweathers, the Tysons, the Marcianos, the Ezra Charles, the Jersey Joe Walcotts, the Joey Gans, the Peter Jacksons, the Jack Johnsons, the Jose Napoles, Aaron Pryor, the Hawks, the GSPs, the Stylebender, John Jones. Those guys are they need their credit because for what they do, and we can say in the sports situation all we want, but those guys can die in the ring. You think he was a bit of both? Why? Do you know of Bruce Lee's fight record? The Draz. Ben Askren, yes. You know of any of Bruce Lee's fight records? Because they only have that one video of him, like, I think he was competing in like a sparring match. But other than that, there's no other footage or record of Bruce Lee fighting. Salute. And that's what we talk about here, is that a fighter will be judged by his record, a teacher will be judged by his students, a martial artist will be judged by his understanding of martial arts. Salute. Salute. Do I think Chuck could whip Bruce Lee? That's a good one. I would say yes. Oh yeah, you gotta love the Diaz brothers. The Diaz brothers are those are martial artists slash fighters. The Diaz brothers. Those are they do triathlons and all types of crazy stuff. The Diaz brothers are sick. Yes, his mind state and understanding of fighting was deep. Yes, Ben Askren, Bruce Lee did understand fighting. Yes. Yes. I think he would have made a great fighter if he did it. I'm just saying we can't judge him as a fighter because he had no record. But I believe if he competed on a high level, he would have been kicking, he would have been kicking buttocks and he would have had a very good record. I think he would have had a very good record. But, he also had a Hollywood career. I think if he wouldn't have had a Hollywood career, he might have did more of the fighting. That's right. Yeah, Danny and Santo. Very true. And he's also credited with creating great students. Bruce Lee had great students of the arts, whether they fought or not. But I would have loved to see him compete. I think, like I said, my money would have been on Bruce all the way. Yes, I think Hollywood kind of derailed his if he could have became a fighter thing, because there was money to be made there. And this is no slight to Bruce. This was like something that Michael J. White has said about he could beat Bruce, and I believe him. I believe him. He's big enough. You taking a shot from a 200-pound man is different from taking a shot from a 130-pound man. 2 different pounds of pressure behind those punches. You know. Yes, like Wonder Boy facts. His understand like with sparring, the way his mind worked and his work ethic would have carried Bruce so far. His work ethic is what would have made him a great fighter. He would have been the fighter that trained while everybody was sleeping. He went to bed. He probably had a device that had him practicing punching while he was sleeping. Bruce's work ethic would have made him a great fighter. That alone. Now we ain't even going to talk about his genius, just his work ethic alone. Any any bum that somebody would call a bum fighter with Bruce Lee's work ethic would kick butt. Fonz bless. Would it be, sir? Would it be? Would it be? But like I said, this is also one of the reasons why we have to West West NC checking in. But this is why we also have to give props to great fighters. You know, I love Bruce, love everything he's done for martial arts, but we also must extend that hand to the fighters of the day. A martial artist can see both sides. They see what others don't see. Like LB can make a style that's known not work. He shows where it can and should be applied. Facts. Facts. Where do I see myself at? I don't have a fight record, so I can't consider myself a great fighter. But I do believe I kind of walk the lines of the great Bruce Lee, and I ain't trying to put myself up there with him. But I don't know how many times Bruce has sparred, but I spar a lot. Um, yes, facts. But understanding the science of fighting and being true to the martial art is where I myself fall. Um, like I said, I can't give myself great fighter credits because I would need a greater fighter record. Have I competed? Yes. I think I got more fight records than Bruce, and I ain't knocking Bruce, but I'm not gonna dare throw myself up there with the guys like Mayweather and that they've been training since 9 years old. They had to sacrifice so much of their life to reach the excellence that they got. I wouldn't dare do that, but uh, I would say a street situation I could handle myself. I don't know. Yeah, I would like to believe if Bruce Lee was alive, he would have started the mixed martial art competition before Dana White and them. I think he would have got it started way before them, and it would have been something different, maybe even bigger. Because they got to, they should pay homage to Bruce. He is the true man behind mixed martial arts. He is the brain behind mixed martial arts, and not walking one path. So really, the UFC owes Bruce some money. If I was Bruce's lawyer, I'd be raising this up. you know. But doesn't mean like this doesn't mean that a great martial artist couldn't handle himself in a fight situation. Mars Mathematics, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. That like and I like I said, I like to believe it's because I spar a lot. And there's some fight juice you can get from sparring. It's still you're still working on executing said techniques. So Bruce um could have did this too. Um like I said, when you're a great martial artist and you can understand fight science, you can walk that middle. And like I said, I believe if Bruce Lee competed, he would have kicked ass. I don't think he would have gotten there and lost at all. He just doesn't have a fight record, such as myself. Keyboard man, thank you. Salute. Thank you. And, I believe if I had competed at a higher level, I'd be kicking ass myself too. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just that we got to call fighters fighters and martial artists that are in their lane. Because certain fighters are not great martial artists. They're not understanders of the arts. They just can understate. They have this understanding of execution of the art. That's why you don't see a lot of great fighters become great teachers of their arts. There's not going to be, I don't see Mayweather teaching too many fighters how to be Mayweather. It's something he's picked up as him. And that's a different thing. So, yeah, that was my whole rant, is that size matters. And was Bruce Lee a great martial artist, a great fighter? He was a great martial artist. And being a great martial artist, you can also understand the inner workings of fighting and, engage, like in saying, sparring matches, and still have the reaction time that a lot of great fighters have. But a great fighter is somebody that has a great fight record, and they should be respected in their in their lane too. So, which fighter in the MMA do you think done? Yes, exactly. Great generals, the greatest generals once were soldiers, you know, and they had some understanding of war. So a general is a bigger thing to me than he is the he is the martial artist that grown through fighting, because to be a great general, you should have been a great soldier. You should have been someone that engaged in some type of war that makes you understand the inner workings of war. Just like great basketball players some of them can become great commentators of the sport because they know the sport. That is a general thing right there. See, now that to me is something that's even in the class by itself, because you can like Masashi. He was a great martial artist and a great fighter because he chopped heads off and he understood the martial arts. He's one of those people that transcend because he did both at a high level. You know, that's something really different. Like Mike Tyson, like I said, he did both at a high level. That's really something different. And those people are definitely reached like the general status, to where you're there because you're at the top because you've been at the bottom. People who get to the top without being at the bottom can never really understand what it is to be at the top. So to be a fighter that survived 100 fights, and now you don't fight anymore. Your understanding of what a fight is just insanely different from someone that's can only theorize what a fight is about. But like I said, I believe if Bruce Lee jumped in the ring, he would have kicked butt. He didn't have a fight record, but he was a great martial artist that understood the inner workings of fighting, the principles, the range. He understood that. And his one demonstration that we seen, you can see he totally understood. He totally dominated in that sparring match. And, I think if he would have went on, we would have seen some real greatness. But that's the end of my rant. Thank you for joining me on this rant. And as always, hands up, chin down, rumble young man, rumble.